I think there's so much more to be said about these medications. I think there is a narrative in our society right now that is exactly what you're saying. The narrative that I see is all the celebrities are doing it, all the bad side effects, and it's cheating and it's the easy way out.
Mm.
And here's the thing with everything. And like it's making me think of like the work I do with my clients too. It's like I just wish we lived in a world where people used critical thinking and looked into things fully before making opinions and making statements. And I am guilty, and I think we're all guilty of it. Like
Mhm.
up until very recently, I had a narrative that was what I just shared. And it was like, kind of like, no, using those medications for weight loss is like, it's all bad, it's all wrong. And I've definitely rethought that. But here is, I think, what needs to happen. It's what you do with the medication, it's how you go into it, it's your motivation, it's your intentionality. And it's like, what boundaries are you making for yourself? Are you doing this with like providers that you need to be helped with? Are you recovered from an eating disorder fully? Are you getting help with your therapist, coach, whoever? Are you doing it in a way that's truly healthy?
What's up, you beautiful beasts? I'm Katie. I'm on a mission to help humans become their favorite versions of themselves and to strive for overall health by healing their relationship to food and exercise, healing their relationship to their body, and most importantly, healing their relationship to themselves, all without ever having to step on a scale. I have had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who have been through a plethora of experiences just being a human and existing. I believe that every single time someone shares their story, at least one person listening will learn from it, be inspired by it, and maybe, just maybe, even change the entire direction of their life. These are the stories of humans unveiling their beautiful beast. Keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast. Oh, let's start the show with laughter. Oh my gosh.
Have you ever heard of laughing yoga?
I haven't, but I have
You
done
haven't?
exercise. I have done like class exercises where one person has to start laughing and then somebody else follows. It's fun. Is it the
And you
same
can't.
thing?
I actually don't know, but I've heard of that term, and I'm like, I know what that is. You just laugh, and then you really laugh.
Yeah.
I
Welcome
love
back to the
laughing.
show.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, Katie, thank you so much for having me again.
You
I'm so
you
excited.
are like one of my all-time favorite guests, so
Oh,
yeah.
you're my one of my all-time favorite podcast hosts that has
Oh,
invited me. So thank
thank
you so
you.
much. I was overjoyed when you messaged me the other day.
Oh, well, I'm happy to have you here, and I think we have a big conversation today. Um,
Yeah.
but for the people who did not hear your last episode, which I will link in the show notes, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and why you
Yeah.
think you are who you are?
Okay. I'm Libby Supan. I am a therapist and a certified intuitive eating counselor, and I help people heal or recover from any kind of like food, body image type of issues. Most people that come into my world, as far as like clients go, are usually stuck in some kind of like overeating, restricting, binging, emotional eating pattern. They usually feel really bad about their body. They typically want to lose weight. And that's usually kind of the people that come into my world and who I work with. The reason I do this work, and I'm so incredibly passionate about it, is because I myself had an eating disorder for about 20 years. And for 15 of those years, I was desperately seeking to find help and support. And I couldn't. So another reason is like, I've created this like coaching program that's a newer thing I'm doing. And so the way I think of it is like, this is the help that I needed back then.
Mm,
So that's, yeah. And why do I think I am who I am?
yeah.
Why do I think I
It's a
am who
loaded
I am?
question, so
I
we've got about an
know.
hour.
I don't even know how to answer that. It feels meta. Um, why do I think the way? Well, probably because of, I don't know. I'm thinking of like my upbringing and, raised in a certain family, being told certain things your whole life. I don't know. I'm thinking of cheerleading and dancing and rollerblading. I don't know how to answer that, I guess.
It's all of the above, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
we're kind of like molded into who we are. Even
Yeah.
right now, you're being molded into who you're going to be in 10 years.
Totally. In
So,
this moment, you're
yeah.
molding me. Mold away.
Snorted.
Anywho,
Oh,
that's who I am, I think.
awesome.
I think. I don't know.
So the reason I asked Libby back is because there is a very big taboo subject going on right now, and that is the subject of these GLP-1 receptor agonist medications. Most people know it as Ozempic, but Ozempic is just one form of it. And it is such a big, fat, nuanced
Mm,
conversation in which what you're hearing and seeing on the media, there's no nuance at all, if that makes sense, because everybody's only focusing on, I shouldn't say everybody, but what I see is the focus on only the weight loss and these really big claims of all the horrible things, quote unquote, that it's doing, which, if you look at the research, it doesn't match at all. So it's doing these things, but people are saying it's doing these things, and they're not actually looking at the research to see if it's doing these things. Does that make sense?
I get it.
Yeah. And so it's a big conversation because there's people who are on it and they're afraid to tell people they're on it because of all the shit talking going on about the medications. And yeah, and so I asked her here because she put up a really cool post. I full transparency, I'm 40 and I don't remember what it said,
I
but
can find it, but it's, yeah, GLP-1 something.
what stood out was body autonomy,
Mm,
which is my biggest, one of my biggest, I guess, values or um, I don't know the word, but like I'm full body autonomy for my clients and wanting them to do what they want to do with their body, whether it's
hmm
intentional weight loss, whether
hmm
it's healing, whether it's all of the above. And so it's such a big conversation with these medications because of all of that. And so, all that said, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Okay. So a few things. One, I think I agree with everything you're saying. I think there's so much more to be said about these medications. I think there is a narrative in our society right now that is exactly what you're saying. The narrative that I see is all the celebrities are doing it, all the bad side effects, and it's cheating, and it's the easy way out.
Mm,
Um, and here's the thing with everything, and like it's making me think of like the work I do with my clients too. It's like I just wish we lived in a world where people used critical thinking and looked into things fully before making opinions and making statements. And
yeah.
I am guilty, and I think we're all guilty of it. Like
Mhm.
up until very recently, I had a narrative that was what I just shared. And it was like, kind of like, no, using those medications for weight loss is like, it's all bad, it's all wrong. And
Yeah.
I've definitely rethought that. But here is, I think, what needs to happen. It's what you do with the medication, it's how you go into it, it's your motivation, it's your intentionality. And it's like, what boundaries are you making for yourself? Are you doing this with like providers that you need to be helped with? Are you recovered from an eating disorder fully? Are you getting help with your therapist, coach, whoever? Are you doing it in a way that's truly healthy? Because if
Yeah.
you're doing it in a way that I think most people are for weight loss, I think we're going, because it hasn't been around long enough, I think we're going to have a near future where we have a lot of sick people
Mm-hmm.
because they went into it in a really bad, unhealthy way with bad, unhealthy mindset where it's like just weight loss and that's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I think that's the issue with it is people are only looking at the weight loss and
right.
not seeing that it is helping people with depression and it is helping people with PCOS and it is helping people with
Alcohol.
sleep apnea. It is helping people
Yeah,
with addiction. And these are all what's fascinating about this is like anybody could say, oh, yeah, because they're losing weight. But all of these things are happening independent of weight loss,
yeah,
meaning that the people in these studies and the test subjects that did not lose weight were also experiencing these things over here. And it does a whole bunch
right.
more. I'll link I have I compiled all the research I've done with some like summaries, but also links to the actual studies into a PDF. So I'll post that in the show notes. But I think and like you, I too was like, oh God, another weight loss medication, blah blah blah. Because
Right.
if you guys know my story, I was put on phentermine when I was 10.
Oh,
That was the first time I
Katie.
did any
Oh,
weight loss drugs. And phentermine,
that breaks my
so I was
heart.
put on phentermine and Pondamin, which when you mix them together made fen-phen. But I was put on them separately.
Okay.
Um, and for like those who aren't, I don't know if there's people who aren't familiar, but
Oh,
fen-phen.
I did fen once.
Oh, okay. So it ended up being banned for, was it valvular heart? Ooh,
I can't
I've
remember.
got it. I've got it written down somewhere, but written down, like typed
In my notebook from
in
when I
my
was in sixth
notebook.
grade.
But yeah, so that was my experience with weight loss medications. And, as I was telling you earlier, I've done all this healing and all this growth and healing relationship to food, healing relationship to exercise, healing my relationship to myself, which
Yeah,
that's the biggest piece is just healing our relationship with
yeah.
ourselves. And so when this came about, I was like, oh my God, another one. Here we go again.
I know. Me too.
But
Me too.
but I'm a NASM certified personal trainer and we commit to having evidence-based practices. And in that, I read the studies and compare it to what society is saying about XYZ, like carbs,
Yeah.
keto.
Right.
Like we
Yeah.
won't get started on that, but um and so this is when I started looking into it because I have three mentor coaches who are like, if you're a trainer, you're gonna have clients that are on this. You should go figure out what
Totally.
they are, what they do, how they work. And so that's what got me into this rabbit hole. And the
Yeah.
research just like totally shattered my paradigm and like blew me
Yeah.
away. And full transparency, the main piece that stuck out for me was it's having antidepressant, how do you say that? Antidepressant effects.
Yeah. That's how I would
Yeah.
say it.
And so,
Wow.
full transparency, I started a GLP-1 medication and I haven't had a depressive episode since I've been on it. But the old
Incredible.
me would have started it solely because of weight loss.
Yep.
And so, like, being able to compare as you were saying, the intention behind
Yeah.
why you're taking it, what you're doing with it, and then even how you
Yep.
take it. One of the reasons people are having side effects is because their dose is too high.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And these can be so effective even on the tiniest microdoses.
Yeah.
So, and that's another conversation people aren't having.
Right. I just read an article about the microdosing, but
Hmm.
yes, first of all, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. I also know how big that is, how big that can be to share. And also, I will share my truth too. Like, I love the idea that I allow myself to rethink things and concepts. And
Hmm.
um, I really am in a place right now where I'm rethinking. I'm not saying it's black or white, but I do think there's a world in which you can be recovered from an eating disorder, disordered eating,
Hmm.
and do evidence-based intentional weight loss for the right reasons in the right way. I mean, there's so much care and nuance when it goes into it. So like that's why I have to be so careful about how I talk about it,
Right.
because I'm not saying, oh yeah, you're recovered from an eating disorder, go lose weight. That is not what I'm saying at all.
Right.
I'm saying, first of all, what are your reasons? What are
Hmm.
your reasons? Like, is it actually, if is losing weight going to have a true impact on your life? And why do you want to lose that weight? Is it because you can't actually move in the body you are because it's big and you can't do the things you need to do in your life to move forward? Okay. But just having, I think, solid boundaries when you're going through it.
Hmm.
Like if, you're in this intentional weight loss post recovery, sorry, post eating disorder recovery, and you start having old thinking, old patterns, old thoughts, the chatter comes up, you got to check that,
Yeah.
and maybe that's the boundary where you're like, okay, I'm taking a pause. I'm going to stop
Hmm.
for now, because what I have seen with so many people and my clients included is they're recovered and then they've gotten on the medication because it's like the cocaine. It's like they see the shiny thing on the pedestal and it's like, I'm going to do it. And it's like, whoa, 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 let's talk about it. And then they're
Yeah.
gone. And then they're back in a few months. They've put on a lot of weight and they're totally back in the eating disorder. And the chatter's like there. And it's just, it doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah. I also think it's super important to have like the physician who's prescribing it to you, like they've got your back 100% of the way rather than someone who's just like, oh, here's your prescription, get out of here. Because,
Absolutely.
or even like, even if it's not your physician, which I think, that you should be in touch with them, a
Yeah.
coach, to somebody to like help you through it and help you do it in the right way so that it's healthy, so that you don't experience the muscle loss that people are experiencing because they're just like, oh, I
Yeah.
take a shot and that's it. Well, no, you still, which is
Right.
why people think, oh, it's the easy way out. You take a shot and that's it. No, you still have
Right.
to focus on your behaviors and your
Right.
habits. And you do have to make sure you're eating enough protein and you do have to make sure you're strength training so that you don't lose muscle.
Right. Right.
Which is one of the big concerns. Like one of the things I see is like, oh my gosh, people are losing all that. Well, because they're doing it wrong.
Right.
Yeah. And so,
And yeah. So the
yeah.
thing that I think too is like, okay, so because I come from the eating disorder world. So
Hmm.
it's like, okay, if you, and let me just say, if this was available back when I was disordered, you better believe I'd be on it in a second. You
Hmm.
better believe it. I would not have cared what anybody told me. I would have hands down been on it for weight loss and that's it. So I get it. I'm not judging anybody. But now I forgot what I was going to say. Dang it.
Are you
Oh,
42?
okay. The chatter. I know. Oh, I'm old. I'm older than you. So it's kind of like this. So if you're a person who has what they like to say food noise, I call it the chatter, but like you have food noise. And
Hmm.
then you take the GLP-1 and it's like a miracle, the food noise is gone. Oh my gosh, this is the thing I've dreamed of my whole life. Well, if you don't take this medication for the rest of your life, the second you go off of it, guess what? That food noise is going to be even louder than it was before because nothing changed. You put a band-aid on it and
Hmm.
it's like it actually was there. You just didn't have access to the food noise during the time on GLP-1. And so it's almost like trying to push it out of your brain, if you will. I'm not explaining this in the right way, but anyways, it will be twofold. And then it's like you go right back to where you were before the medication. And
Hmm.
that is why it's crucial to make sure you are in a very healthy mindset. If you have an eating disorder, absolutely recovered. I mean, there's just so much to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. There's two things I want to speak to. And, we were talking about this earlier. I don't think I would be doing this right had I not spent the last 5 or 6 years healing my relationship to food, healing my relationship to exercise and myself, like I'd be doing it for all the wrong reasons.
Of course.
And because of like one of the biggest things in healing is like I tell my listeners are probably sick of hearing me say this, but starting with noticing without judging. So just
Yep.
noticing your behaviors and don't judge it. And if you judge it, then notice that too. But what that does is sometimes you'll recognize a pattern that you have that you didn't even know you had. And what that does is it brings you to, it gives you a choice. Like, do I want to keep this thing I do or do I want to change it? But if you don't ever acknowledge or notice that it even existed, then you're not at choice. And you're just going to keep playing off of the same behaviors and patterns that you've been playing off for years. And so, back to my own healing adventure, I'm always hyper aware of my behaviors. And so when starting this, I'm paying close attention to make sure that I shouldn't say make sure that old thinking patterns don't come back. I should say noticing them when they do pop up so that I can be like, Katie, shut the
And what
fuck
you do with it.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what you do with it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I do think one of the things, if somebody chooses to start this medication, is check yourself before you wreck yourself. No, check yourself.
Hands down. Check yourself before
Check
you
yourself before
wreck
you wreck
yourself.
yourself.
Oh, I'm gonna insert the song right there.
You better.
So yeah, just at least if you do anything to attempt to heal these things, and healing takes a long time. Like I was on a diet for 27 years. I've been healing for 5. So which
Yeah.
one right now holds more weight? Probably the
Yeah.
27 years on a diet.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I've just, paying attention to if and when old thinking patterns come up and then figuring out what to do with those thinking patterns. And
Yeah.
there was a point behind everything I just said, but I forgot. So
It's
you go.
totally okay. So here's everything you said, like basically you could be me. Just kidding. We could be the same person. So like
Yeah.
when you're talking about how you speak to the people that you work with, yeah, so the language that I use is like one of the most important aspects of like healing yourself, like with disordered eating disorders, body image, is observing with neutrality.
Yes.
No judgment. Exactly what you
Mhm.
said. Because here's the thing that I didn't know for so long when I was unwell. What keeps you stuck in like the trap of all of it is taking all of it personally. So like you
Mhm.
have this inner critic voice, which again is the food noises, the chatter. And back then I believed it. I believed all of it. But
Mhm.
it was like, first of all, where is this even coming from? Like, where does it stem from? Says who? Why can't you eat until 12? Like, I'm hungry. It's 11. Why can't, oh, you can't eat till 12. Okay. And I believed it and then would
Mhm.
have feelings about those thoughts that I believed. So start like just being just neutralize it and think,
Mhm.
oh, interesting. Huh. Whatever that came from. Get curious. Like, you like, okay, think of it like this. You want let's say you want to be married in your life and you're so interested in this person sitting across the table from you on the first date and maybe they're going to be your marriage partner, whatever, and you're so interested in them and you ask them all the questions. Do that with yourself. Like, get to
Mhm.
know yourself. Where does it come from? Why? Who says? um and what you were saying too, it's like if I'm always taking it personally, I don't have a moment to be aware and reflect. So the more I can observe in neutrality, I now have awareness. And it's like, oh, that's a repetitive thought I notice. Okay, that's
Mhm.
going to keep showing up. Or, oh, I keep doing this thing. I open the fridge every time I feel sad. Oh, interesting. But if
Yeah.
I didn't take that pause, I probably wouldn't even know that I may be doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've told this story before too, but like in the beginning of my healing, one of these notice without judging pieces was if I was eating a snack in my car, whether it be a bag of chips or an apple. At a red light, I would hide my food and stop chewing because I
Yep.
didn't want other people to see me eating because if I eat, I'll gain weight. And, she shouldn't be eating. All of that
Oh,
noise
yeah.
in our head. And so I was like, interesting. Or like on a Zoom call with multiple people, I would check in gallery view to see if anyone else was having a snack, so that would give me permission to have snack too.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, everybody was looking at my little square on the thing. And
Right.
oh,
And it's
I think about it
masking,
now, I'm like, that's so stupid, but
but
that was
that's
the thought.
well, right. And then
Yeah.
the belief, but like, and also it's like that was you masking, trying to fit into this like fat phobic society where you can be okay and not judged.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
I remembered that today because right before you, I was on a 2 hour class call and I noticed I'm like, with my camera on, I'm like, hold on a minute.
yeah, wait a second.
Hold on. I'm eating processed food. Oh
Ultra processed. How dare you?
no.
Right. But you're at a point where it's like, who cares if I eat?
Yeah, I was hungry.
Right. So please
So,
eat.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah.
Something I love, you're reminding me of, so in my group coaching program, Food Freedom Breakthrough, it's funny, interesting how I just always observe my clients and like how they shift over time and
Mhm.
like just the slightest ways, but I always like notice. So two of my clients in my group coaching program, like I'm assuming when they're hungry, they'll just be eating in group and they don't
Mhm.
ask, they don't say anything about it, they don't make a comment about it, they're just doing it. Whereas before, they wouldn't even eat when we're having the group where we're eating together. Like we're supposed to
Mhm.
be eating together with actual food
Right.
right now, and they wouldn't even do that because that was too uncomfortable. So it's just like, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
But coming from curiosity, I think is extremely important.
Yeah. And, looking deeper into it, I was able to kind of pinpoint the main place that came from is when I was little and we'd go to my grandma's house for some sort of holiday or whatever. She was like, I have to be the perfect hostess, blah, blah, blah. So she'd go around with her like fancy appetizer tray. And when I would reach for one, she'd go, you don't need it.
Are you
So,
kidding?
no, she was a big bully to me. Yeah. So,
Is grandma still here today?
no, she died
Okay.
in
I was like,
2020.
you give me that address, I'm writing her a letter.
You're getting a letter.
Hey, Grams, that's awful, Katie. That's
No.
horrid. What
Yeah.
what what feelings did you have when she did that?
Um, I felt like I was different than everyone else.
Yeah,
I grew up with a really skinny brother.
yeah,
And, now I know we just have two different body types, whatever.
totally.
My other two siblings are also really skinny. Uh,
Yeah,
and I was the bigger one.
yeah,
So I was different. And back then, different meant bad.
totally.
And now I'm like, celebrate my different, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just the things that like we don't understand how much our childhood shapes who we are as adults. And it's really tough being in this work sometimes because a lot of my sessions, I'm dealing with the little versions of the client, right? Like
Yeah.
5-year-old little Andy
Yeah.
or 7-year-old little Sherry or whatever.
Yeah.
And I have a son. And so I'm like hyper aware of things that I say to him, how I speak to him. Um,
Yeah.
especially about food and movement. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want him to have unhealthy, obsessive thoughts about food the way I ended up having later in my
Hmm.
life. And I know that it starts now. So, like,
Yeah.
dealing with, you know, I, the childhood work, the what's it called? Inner child work
Inner child.
with my clients, and then also having a son who still is the child.
Right.
It's like, oh, sometimes I overwhelm myself and I'm just like,
What? Yeah. I
yeah.
imagine feeling pressured. Like, oh God, what am I instilling in him right now? Like,
Yeah.
is this good? Is this bad? Yeah. But you're absolutely right. Like everything. as an adult stems from your upbringing. And what's
Mhm.
so hard about that is depending on your upbringing, you have a lot of unlearning and relearning to do. And that takes time. And you have to even know that that's something that you need or want to do.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work. So I think of it like with food and body stuff. I think of it with relationships, like romantic relationships. Um, it's a lot.
Yeah. Mm.
Not easy.
One of my what one thing my son likes to do is touch my tummy. And he goes,
Hmm.
Mommy, you're so squishy. And I go, Thank you. Instead
Oh,
of saying, Oh my gosh, don't say that. That hurts my feelings. Because now he's going to think, Oh, if mommy's squishy, that means her body's bad. Right?
what?
And I'm squishy when I'm
That's,
skinny too.
but like, seriously, Katie, how incredible is that for you to do that? I
Yeah.
mean, really, that is, I'm just really impressed. That's awesome.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't. He loves
He
me.
just wants to be around mom.
Yeah. And use my squishy as a pillow.
Yeah.
I did just remember um, something else you said approximately 20 minutes ago. When I was like, oh, two things I want to pull out of that, I only said the one thing. The second thing was going back to the GLP-1 medications, is you mentioned using it for life. And
Mm,
I don't see anything wrong with that.
yeah.
Uh, I think that there's one doctor that I follow where I learned a lot about these medications from. I don't agree with every single thing she says, but I did learn a lot from her about these. Her name's Dr. Tina Moore.
Hmm.
And one thing she talks about is cycling it. Like
Hmm.
once people are down to their goal weight, I still don't like using that because I
Hmm.
still don't think that we should be focusing on one number. Maybe a goal weight range. I don't know.
Right. An
But any
idea, but like, yeah,
Yeah. But she talks about like after they hit the goal weight, um, microdosing it and then cycling it so that you're
yeah.
not always on it. And the other thing I wanted to say to that is some of the nasty comments that I do hear, and I'm not putting these people down because they're just going based off of what they're hearing. So it's
Yeah.
definitely not like how dare these people say these things. But
Right.
one of the things hear is, well, you're going to have to be on that for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Well, would you say that to someone who has to take thyroid medication
Yeah.
or cholesterol or high blood pressure? Like, would you say that with those?
Yeah.
And with that in mind, like these GLP-1s are kind of getting rid of the need for those. So
Yeah.
that's a whole other conversation. Um, but yeah, like having to take something for the rest of your life is not necessarily a bad thing. What are your thoughts on that?
No. Well, here's my thoughts specifically with GLP-1s. And I'm going to say too, like, you've done way more research than I have. I have, like, I don't know that much about them. In full transparency. So they haven't been out long enough with prescribing for weight loss purposes. So I can't speak to like people being on it for the rest of their lives or not. Like, I don't
Mm,
know. I
yeah.
don't know if you have to be or not have to be or what that looks like. Um, so I agree with you in that what you were talking about, like being on it for the rest of your life, and that like why is that considered bad? I'm on an antidepressant, and if I need to be on that the rest of my life, I don't care. I could care less because here's what I can tell you: when I've tried titrating down, and then when I was off of that antidepressant a few years ago because I thought maybe I don't need it, I didn't know it did not go well. So no worries, I'll just get back on it. Why do I care?
Yeah.
I mean, it serves me. I will be on it for the rest of my life if I need to be. Why is there judgment around that? I don't know.
Yeah.
And am I taking the easy route? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
You just don't want to do the work to work on your depression.
totally. If you even knew all the work I just try to stay like even,
Yeah.
it's a lot to maintain this mind. Yeah. I just, again, I wished we lived in a society, and even more so now, we are moving away from critical thinking and research and facts because of government. Um, but just do your work, do your research, look into it before you start talking about it. And again, I'm guilty of it. Okay. So, like, I'm
Yeah.
speaking to myself too, but just use critical thinking. Who's giving the message? Huh, what do you think that messenger wants?
Yeah.
Most likely, it's probably your money.
Mm-hmm.
Just be curious, you know?
Yeah. And I'd extend that into the studies that you look at too. Like,
Of course.
yeah,
Who's
because
researching it?
there are, what's the word? I want to say bunk studies. Is that a
Yeah,
word?
I
So
use that word all the time.
you have to be mindful of things like how many people are being studied,
Yep.
um,
Who's paying for the
who's
study?
paying for it, like,
Yeah.
yeah. And,
Where
full
are the
disclosure.
doc?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, no, go.
I was just gonna say I'm gonna create a video on YouTube for people who don't know how to look at research papers. I'm gonna teach you how to do it. So it's not
Thank you.
made yet, so I can't say click here, but it will be made in the future.
Let me know when you make that.
I will.
Um, yeah. And that it reminds me too, just kind of like intuitive eating. Like intuitive eating is so simple and it's also so confusing and complicated. And people are so quick to think like, well, that's what it is. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Intuitive eating is truly like a way to live in the world. It is so much more than food and body and the hunger fullness diet. And you're gonna get so fat. All I do is eat. I give myself permission to eat all the things. You're just asking me to get fat. It is so much more than that. So don't just listen to like whatever it is that you're hearing, that narrative. Look into it. Like look into the authors, like listen to a podcast, read the book, like whatever, if you're interested in it, like look
Yeah.
into it.
Don't listen to what Jillian Michaels says about.
I can't.
Oh, God.
Are you talking about the Joe Rogan
No,
episode?
she did a YouTube video, and like
I can't.
I used to put her on the biggest pedestal.
Did you?
I did back in my but
Yeah.
she did a video on it. She just went over the 10 principles, and she's like, "Yeah, this was probably written by people who lost weight and couldn't keep it." She said something like that. I'm like, "You dumbass." That was registered dietitians. And
I
that's the
can't.
first time I was disappointed in her, because I was like, for someone who I thought does her research, she didn't even
Really?
read the book before she bashed it. And I'm like,
I think she is such a harm and threat to our society. I wish I didn't care so much about Jillian Michaels. I can't stand her so much. She's maybe one of the people I truly can't stand the most, besides someone who has a really orange face. But but here's I
hold
didn't
on.
listen to
Hold on. That gets one of these.
like really I have a lot of like actual I hate having hate is horrible, but like I think I actually have hatred towards her because I think she is so harmful. Spewing out all this like misinformation. Anyways, I didn't listen to this episode, but my really good friend who's also a therapist, she was asking, she told me like, look, I listened to this episode with Jillian Michaels and Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan podcast or whatever. And I immediately went, oh, why? And then she's like, I really just wanted to hear what Jillian Michaels had to say about intuitive eating. And she goes, and I guess it made me realize I don't really know intuitive eating. And so we were on a hike and she was asking me, like, what is intuitive eating? And I tell her, and it was like in a, I don't know, 2 minute spiel. And she was like, wow, like, thank you. That makes so much sense. I actually have an idea of what it is. Like, Jillian Michaels just was like bashing it. And I kept thinking, like, God, is that what Libby does? Because she knows that I'm an intuitive eating person.
Right.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Just yeah, do your
Uh,
work. Gwyneth Paltrow as well. I don't hate her, but she's just like
yeah.
funny.
I'm gonna read you something while we're on this topic. I
Yeah,
did, listeners, if you're interested, I wrote a very long about me story. It's
yeah.
on my website. I don't expect many people to read it, but if you want to see where I'm coming from and why I do this work, I'll link it in the show notes. Um, but, when I discovered intuitive eating as part of my adventure, and this is how I wrote about it. If you're in, I'm going to read it to you. Is that okay?
Yes, please do. I want to hear it.
Um, so this was after I went on Optavia, which was my dieting downfall, my dieting rock bottom. Um, and in that I lost my milk supply, I had extreme guilt because I knew I was going to lose my milk supply, and it was all in the name of shrinking my body, because after we give birth, it's get your body back, like this whole thing. So I said it took hitting rock bottom to finally consider that maybe after 27 years of dieting, the problem wasn't me, it was the dieting itself. That realization became the first step on my path to real healing, where food transformed into more than just numbers on a label, and my body became more than something to be shrunk. But even with that clarity, I'm getting chills reading this.
Yeah.
Even with that clarity, I was still completely lost. There wasn't even a fork in the road, just a vast, empty desert stretching out in front of me. What was I supposed to do now? How do you find your way when the path you've been on your whole life turns out to be nothing but a dead end? During this time, I went out to lunch with some old friends from high school. We had bonded. Oh, we had always bonded over the latest diet trends, swapping stories about calorie counting and the newest miracle weight loss plans. But that day was different. In the middle of our conversation, one of them asked me 7 simple words that would change the entire course of my life. Have you ever heard of intuitive eating? I always say it like that, even though she didn't say it
I
like
love the
that.
Valley
Have
Girl.
you ever heard of intuitive eating?
Have you ever heard of Intuitive?
Oh, at first, I wasn't sure what to make of it. I'd read so many diet books before, each promising freedom, but delivering only more rules and restrictions. But something about the way she said it, with genuine curiosity and a hint of peace in her own eyes, made me listen. When I got home, I immediately ordered the book Intuitive Eating by Evelyn Tribole and Elise Reich. I started reading it the day it arrived, not expecting much. But what I found within those pages was nothing short of revolutionary. It wasn't just another set of rules to follow, it was an invitation to break every rule that had been controlling my life. And I'm going to stop it there. If you want to read the rest,
I
I'll
love
put it in
that.
the show notes.
Thank you, Katie. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I love that you have that
You're
on your
welcome.
website. I felt so similarly when I was introduced to intuitive eating so many years before I got better, but I was too sick in my head to like trust
Mhm.
intuitive eating. But yeah, when I read the book for the first time, it's right behind me.
I like that you
I
said
think,
for the first time.
oh,
Have
like,
you read
because
it
I've read it.
multiple times? Yeah,
Oh,
me
are you
too.
kidding? Like, so I
Yeah.
have all the editions, like the workbooks, the journals, like I have all of
Yeah.
it. Um, but yeah, so when I read it the first time, I felt like, wait a second, wait a second. They get it.
Yeah.
Am I not crazy? Is this all because of what I've just been told to do and I've been listening to it? But again, it took me a long time to like get into the work and actually doing it because I was just so scared of weight gain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. That
That
one
was,
thing
yeah.
changed the trajectory of your life.
Yeah. I got
Wow.
chills. I was literally like goosebumps reading it.
Do you know when you were reading it, my arms were inside like this? No, really, because I felt like chills too.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a big story, and of course not every single thing of my life is in there, but it talks about, it starts in my childhood. Um Things like the story I told you about my grandma, how
Yeah.
it how, being bullied and all that had me settling for an abusive drug addict as my first husband, and like it went into that story of how I was treated there, and how just this whole everything about my life has always been about my size,
Yeah.
and the healing I've done in these last, I think it's more than 5 years, but I'll just say 5 years. It's
Yeah.
like suddenly it's not about that. Suddenly it's about who am I?
Yeah.
Like, who am I? Like, if you took my body and you put it over here and my essence was still right here, who's
Right.
Katie? And so being able to do that and find myself is what has made me so passionate about the work I do and helping other people do that too.
Absolutely. Because it's like you are actually walking, living it. You're doing it. You know how incredible it is and what a different life and world you live in now. And
Yeah.
it's like, you can't, I don't know, for me, it's like, I can't not do it. I wouldn't know what else to do. Yeah, it's just a different life, it's a different world that I
Hmm.
live in.
Yeah.
And like having things in my brain that aren't just thinking about my body and like what I'm going to eat and not going to eat. Like now I think about that, I'm like, oh my God, how boring. How boring.
Yeah. And so, circling back to being on this medication that people only focus on the weight loss, I've had to do a lot of questioning, like, what is my intention behind this? Like,
Yeah.
do I still believe 100% in the work I do? And the answer is, fuck yeah, I do. You know,
Yeah. Yep.
the GLP-1 medications are a tool. They aren't the answer, they're a tool. Just
That's
like
correct.
strength training is a tool. Just
Yep.
like um I don't know, I can't think of anything else right now, but it's
Yeah.
a tool. And like you said, like when we use our critical thinking skills, we can choose which tools we can put in our own toolbox without the outside world telling you what tools to put in your toolbox.
Right. And also making sure you are in the right brain space to know
Hmm.
what tools to use when, and
Yes.
maybe going through it with somebody that has already done this and is a professional in it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like just being so careful because it's your body. Like that's
Yeah.
all you get. That's all
Hmm.
you get. And the thing that
Yeah.
most people don't know, don't understand, or don't care about is truly like, and this doesn't happen to everybody, but like the more you do the dieting and like those cycles of like whether it's binge restrict or dieting and overeating, the more you're raising your set point.
Hmm.
And then it's like you get into your adult life, however old you are, and as you're getting older, your metabolism is slowing down. And now you're in the set point because of all the years you abused your body in trying to lose weight. And now it's really hard to lose. It's
Yeah.
even harder to lose weight. And it's just, yeah, it just makes me think of all the systems in our country and how unnecessary so much is. It's like, it makes me think of too, like big food and diet culture and fat phobia all at the same time and how they all play with each other. And it's like, I don't know if you've heard this piece, but because of GLP-1, big food has lost a lot of money. And so they're
Hmm.
freaking out. And so what they have already been doing is, because it's all about money, is shrinking sizes and packages, which that's already been happening. I can't remember the name for that. But and then also scientifically adding more ultra processed ingredients into those foods to make them have more of the addictive qualities and
Hmm.
properties, which is insane.
Yeah.
How is that legal?
Yeah.
How is that legal? And at the same time, you have most of our society obsessed with fat and thin. And maybe they think of this food, this like ultra processed food, as like the devil. But like, okay, I eat one of them and now I'm never going to get it again. So I eat the whole box and now I'm going to gain
Right.
even more weight because there's even more like property. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
And then, this would be a bigger conversation, but also factoring in big pharma. And the
I used to be a
reason
firm rep.
the reason they don't like these medications is because they are taking away the need for all the other ones. For
Yeah.
the people who are doing it right, you know?
Right. Right.
Like,
Right. Right. Right.
and if
Yeah.
you are that person who is like, I want to take a shot and lose all the weight, I don't care.
Do it.
Body
We're
autonomy,
not judging.
do it.
Like, we are not
No
judging
judgment.
you.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, big pharma. I could speak to that. I did pharmaceutical sales for 6 years.
Mm. Say no more. God, another snort.
I resisted that time. Anyhow, that, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, this was a really good conversation.
I agree.
Yeah, and I hope that people listening, I hope it just opens your mind a little bit more and reminds you to not believe everything you hear in social media
Yes.
and not believe everything
Yes.
you hear on the news. Like, do your own research.
Yes.
Curiosity is a superpower. Um, yeah, because it's more empowering to speak from a place of how do I even want to say that? It's more empowering when you're like, I read this, and this is what I found. This was my conclusion based off what I read. This is how I interpreted it
Yep.
versus, oh, I heard someone over here say that it does this. It's
Yep.
so much more
So,
empowering when
yeah,
you yourself do the work to find out the information about whatever the big thing is that
right.
hyping up the media.
Absolutely agree. Yes.
Yeah.
Critical
So,
thinking. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I have one more question for you.
Yes.
And I ask at the end of every episode, and you've heard it before, but I started asking it differently. So, if every single person on Earth stopped what they were doing and looked at you and said, please give me some advice, what would you say?
Stop, collaborate, and listen. And I would say every single time you're putting judgment on somebody else, you are only doing that because as you're judging them, there's one finger pointing at them and three pointing at you. So, what in yourself do you need to look at?
Boom.
There it is.
Beautiful beasts. Libby Supan signing off. Until next time.